Hey everyone, Cincy Kid out of Cincinnati. I've got a 2019 Ducati 1260s that I'm getting ready to take to a track day this weekend, and I needed to drain the radiator of antifreeze and put in water wetter. I'm actually using engine ice, but I wanted to walk through how to get to the radiator cap on this 1260s because it's behind here and you cannot access it easily. So I wanted to show you on the side panel on this 1260s, if you come in closer, there is a slot right underneath here. So if you see where the logo is up here, chase it straight down, you're gonna need a flashlight. You're gonna wanna use a 4mm handle or T-handle to get this bolt out. And these bolts are they're very small. So there's one right at the bottom, and on the side here, there's a small gap. Directly inside of this gap at the very top, if you look inside there, you'll find another small bolt like that. So once you get those two bolts off, you kind of pull it out. It comes off really easy. It lifts up just a hair. And there's the panel, the exterior panel. There's only the two bolts holding that on. You'll see the pieces that actually, when you slip it in, it will slide back on. So you actually have access to your cap here, but I wanted a little bit more access. So what I did was, you're gonna need to take this panel off. There are 4 bolts here, and then 3 basically Velcro holders. So we're gonna take this off real quick. These bolts are loose because I've already done this once and didn't tighten them back up yet. Trying to do this all in one take to show you how simple it is. This one, what I had to do, there's a small metal piece on the back of this rubber grommet. You have to hold that. This bolt will come out. You can see it looks different than the others. It's got a small sleeve on it. And on the back side, what you want to make sure is you don't lose this little piece that it actually screws into, okay? So after that, this piece is, the Velcro is here. You'll pop that Velcro and you'll see it slides into the other plastic here. So you're going to pull it, and then you're actually going to leave this rubber grommet in place and just kind of push it through. And your black piece comes off that easy. Now you see you have complete access to your radiator cap. So before you take this off, what I highly suggest doing is, because if you take this cap off, you're gonna get overflow right away because there's actually some in the overflow inside. What you're gonna wanna do is, we're gonna walk around to the other side. What you're gonna wanna do is take a bucket, put it under the left side of your motor, and you see there's 3 hoses here coming into the motor here. This bottom one, you'll need a flathead or a Phillips head screwdriver. You'll back this clip off, take a small screwdriver, kind of loosen the end of the hose. You're gonna pull it off, and you're gonna start getting antifreeze coming out from both the motor and the hose. Once most of that has come out, I would go back to the other side, open the radiator cap, and the rest of the fluid will come out. Let it drain completely. Once it's drained completely, go ahead and slide this hose back on and tighten it up, and then wipe up anything you have there. So let's go back around. So in order to get, I'm not going to take my cap off now because I just filled it. In order to get to the radiator, there's less than a 1/2 inch hole really in the top. So what I did, I have engine ice, but I had bought this, it's called a flow tool, trans fluid gear oil spout. But all you need is basically a small funnel and a tube to get to the radiator cap where you put the engine ice in. So you're gonna have to go real slow, and once you get it filled up to where it will keep burping and bubbling up, you're gonna wanna go back to the other side. And all you're gonna do is, on this top radiator hose here, you're gonna take it and you're just gonna pinch it and squeeze it a few times. leaving the radiator cap off, you're gonna hear the bubbles come up and it's gonna burp that air out of there for you. So after you do that, go back and forth a few times to where your new water wetter or whatever you're using is sitting in the top of the radiator. You're gonna wanna put your cap back on at that point. Then what you do is, if you look inside the dash here, this is where your overflow is. You're gonna wanna remove this cap, put your funnel there, and you may need a flashlight to look from underneath. You're gonna wanna fill that back up to somewhere between the minimum and maximum level and spin that back on. If you leave your radiator cap off when you try to fill this up, it's simply gonna drain that and overflow your radiator, so you're not gonna wanna do that. So basically that's how I did mine. Once you have that all back together, I did start the motor for about 30 seconds to see if any more air came out. As soon as you move this cap now, once the overflow has some in it, you're gonna get some spillage out of there. So you may wanna put a bucket under this side if you wanna check it. So once you get all of that done and wipe everything else down, we're gonna put this black piece back on. To do so, it slides in on the left side, so we'll go in there, and then also, as we do that, you're gonna see these holes line back up, and what I was doing is just barely pushing the Velcro on. And this is heavy duty Velcro. It's the kind that almost snaps, so it's not your traditional weak Velcro. So we're gonna put the 3 smaller bolts back in place. And then what you're going to want to do down here, you're going to need to fish that grommet back through the plastic. Just like that. We'll take this piece that we took off. You're going to slide that through. Take your bolts. And tighten this back up. While you're holding on to that. It's got the rubber on there, but you kind of have to use your fingers to keep it in place. And it's going to get to a point where it spins. But because of that rubber, it's not going to come off. Then your last piece you need to do, you basically take your outer cover. There's no clips on the top. It's just a rubber seal and these little white things that will hang down right above this. So what you're going to want to do, there are 2 parts. You can see they're hollowed out, so they actually sit on these 2 pieces. So what you're going to want to do is put this up, kind of get it in place. It's going to set down, and you're going to see it doesn't come off. And then once you get to that point, you're going to put those 2 bolts on. Now, if you'll notice where the clips are for those bolts on here, you're going to want to make sure this piece, that these 2 clips, you set them inside of this hole and that they don't go below. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to bolt it. So you basically kind of set those on there, get this above, push it down, and simply put the bolts back in and you're good to go. So hopefully this helped somebody with a 1260s show you how to drain the antifreeze and refill the radiator. If you have any questions, just shoot me a message.